folks, today we're taking a look at Best of Publishers again, and this time it is CGE, or Czech Games Edition. Now, Czech Games Edition is now a game company that when they make a game, everyone stops. They're almost feel to some degree like the European Days of Wonder. They don't make a ton of games each year, but the games they make, people certainly take notice. Now, Czech Games Edition definitely owes their success to one designer in particular, and that's Vasel. In fact, later on this year, when I go through the designer's best, you're probably going to look at Vlada's list and then look at my Czech Games list and say, well, these are pretty similar. They are. But not every game from them is from him. Now, they make some pretty involved Euro games, usually with a heavy dollop of theme, but they also make really silly party games like Bunny Bunny Moose Moose. There's going to be two games that are on my list, and I know I'm going to hear yelling about both of these, but Dungeon Lords, I just do not like that game. I feel like there's too few decisions, and it's more of a puzzle than it feels like a dungeon. I know you're the bad guy having the good guys come through. It just never really panned out for me. And the other is Zolkin, which I know a lot of people like, and I really feel like I need to give this one another chance, especially with the expansion. So at some point, I am going to play it again. If you meet me at a convention, you might say, Vasel, now it's time to play Zolkin, and maybe it will happen. So that might show up on my list at some point in the future. But here are my 10 favorites from CGE. Number 10 is Dungeon Pets. Now, while Dungeon Lords didn't do anything for me, Dungeon Pets I enjoyed more. I like the theme of it a lot as you're growing and nurturing these pets and putting them in cages. But there's a lot going on in this game. It's a pretty hefty game, as you have to give pets different types of food and keep them, happy, and then you show them off in competitions. There's just a lot going on in the game, but I do enjoy it. Number 9 is Last Will. I love the theme of Last Will, in which you are trying to get rid of all your money, trying to squander it all away. So it's a worker placement game, and there's a lot going on in the game. And it's, I wouldn't say it's heavy, but it tends towards that. There's a lot of interesting things, but that theme really helps, and it's a lot of fun to do things like, oh, I'm going out to dinner. By the way, I'm bringing my horse with me just so I can spend more money and waste it away. Great theme, but also a good game. Number 8 is the game that has put CGE as a powerhouse these past couple years, and that's Codenames. Or Codenames Pictures. I'm putting them kind of together in the same category. Codenames has outsold every other game that they've ever done. Codenames is selling huge. I think it's past 500,000 games in the past couple years. Everywhere. It's a great party game. You will see us doing top 10 lists, and Codenames usually shows up, and Sam and Z are kind of disparaging towards it. But the fact is, I really like Codenames, and many, many people do. It can be played silly and laughing and fun with teams. It can be played quietly and cautiously, like password style between two groups of two people. Just a good game. Number 7 is Space Alert. Space Alert is a cooperative game where you're on a spaceship and enemy spaceships are attacking you and you don't know what to do, so you're all programming simultaneously. You're like programming how the different characters are running around the board, and sometimes you can't talk. You're trying to communicate to each other the best way and when to put cards down. It's a crazy, crazy game with a soundtrack, and it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I really enjoy it. Number 6 is Alchemists. Now, Alchemist is one of the first games that used an app to great use. It's a heavy worker placement deduction game, but you were trying to figure out what ingredients, when you put together, did what potions. So I would show 2 ingredients, and then you would use your phone to take a picture of those, and it would tell you the combination of those, what it would produce. So slowly over time, you could figure out which ingredients you needed to solve the puzzle of the game. Really in depth, really cool game. That's Alchemists. Number 5 is Shipyard. Now, Shipyard you might not think is my style of game. There are games with rondels. Matt Gertz invented them, where you move pieces around a circle. Shipyards has you moving one piece around a big oval, then moving pieces around other ovals, and then you're building a ship. But I like it for a lot of reasons. First, the gameplay is very deep and cool, but also you're actually physically building long ships, and then you're shipping goods down them and putting different pieces on the ships. The theme comes through very strong, but it's also a really solid, in-depth game. That's Shipyard. Number 4 is Adrenaline. Now, Adrenaline just came out, and Adrenaline might drop for me as time goes by, but I love it for now. First-person shooter, but it's also a Euro game. Now, we played a live version of this game so you can see it. So you're running through and you're shooting other people with different weapons. And when you shoot them, you do damage to them. When someone dies, they respawn. But whoever did the most damage to them is going to get a certain number of points. So it's kind of area control. But the areas you're trying to control are running around and you're hitting them with flamethrowers. It's kind of a shoot-off of Wolfenstein, Doom, and all that style. Number 3 is the Prodigals Club. Now, earlier I mentioned Last Will. And I really like Last Will. And you might have wondered, why is it number 9? Because Prodigals Club is like the sequel to it, which is just a better game. And Prodigals Club, which is compatible with Last Will if you want to, but there's a lot of things the same, but it's also better. In this game, you're not only trying to lose all your money, you're trying to lose your reputation and lose all your friends. You're trying to lose an election, essentially, and your friends. Very fun. They cleaned up the system. I think it plays a little bit better than Last Will does. Once I played it, I was like, I don't think I want to play Last Will again. Last Will is a great game, but Prodigals Club is better because what's better than losing all your money? Losing your friends along the way. Number 2 is Through the Ages. This is the game that put CGE on the map. This is the game where people were like, whoa, this company knows what they're doing. They just re-released it, an updated version of it, which is much better. I think it's one of, if not the definitive board game, civilization game. Unfortunately, there's no board, first of all, and it's only, I think it works best with 2 players. It's pretty lengthy with 3 or 4, but it's the closest game to Sid Meier's Civilization than anything else. Lots of fun, a lot of choices in the game. That's Through the Ages. And my favorite game from CGE, again, another game that Sam and Z both hate, but that is Galaxy Trucker. The very first time I played Galaxy Trucker, I was laughing in delight. I was having so much fun. In Galaxy Trucker, you are spending time in real time finding tiles and building this crazy spaceship, putting guns, engines, cargo space on it, aliens, and then you fly it through some random asteroid fields and pirates shooting guns at you and all sorts of things. And sometimes your ship just blows to pieces and it's hilarious. But when it doesn't, it's a glorious feeling and it's just fun either way. I love Galaxy Trucker when I lose. I love it when I win. It works both ways. CGE has some of the best rule books in the business. They're always funny. They're always interesting. Like I said, they have an interesting gamut of games, but there's one thing they definitely have, and that's a strong dollop of theme. There's a lot of companies from Czechoslovakia, but they're definitely the most well-known. Almost every time they publish a game, you know it's going to show up. They just recently brought it to America. They're doing their own distribution in America. They have some great apps for their games. They're just a solid, well-rounded company, one worth your while looking up. I'm Tom Vasel. This has been Best of Publishers. Today, CGE.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.